the internet to catch up, you know. And then I'm gonna dip out. Yeah. Yeah.
Are we up now? Looks like.
Yeah, we're up now. So Clint, if you want to go and mute the little speaker on there, that will.
Oh, is that?
Yeah. You can just turn your volume down on for the.
Yeah, I need to do that.
All right, I think you're good to go.
Hey, hi, this is Clint with Artists of the Resistance. And this week we are interviewing Karen. You just told me it, and I'm just going to do
Gutfreund.
Okay. A little introduction is I met. Well, Karen met me. She looked out for me about 9 months ago when she was working on, I guess, an extended edition of a book that we will get into in just a couple minutes. Karen used to be on the West Coast. I believe Sausalito. I think that's what you said before you took off to the East Coast to, I guess, kind of play nanny to some sounds like some very, very sweet children on the East Coast are getting back to the East Coast, and here we are. How about just give me a thumbnail, your boilerplate just introduction.
Okay, well, I'm Karen Gutfreund, and I am an activist and feminist curator. I lived in New York City for, about 12 years, and then I moved to California. And actually, I lived both in Sonoma and in Saratoga, and for 20 years. And we just this past year moved to Syracuse, New York. My son-in-law was running for Congress, a Democrat, of course, Roger Misso, and so we came out here, my husband and I came out here to help support the family, help us campaign. And so, so when I'm not doing art, I'm granny nanny to a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, which is pretty intense, but very, very, very awesome. So my background, I started as an art history and fine arts major. And I worked at MoMA in New York and a couple different galleries. And so pretty much my whole life has been working, in the arts, and, and then moved to California and started curating, and here I am.
Oh, great. Again, and I know I've looked up at your personal work, and that seemed to, take the similar path as your curatorial projects. And so did one come first, or did they just kind of come out together?
I think they pretty much came out together, because the way that when I started, as an artist, and I do have to say, like, working at MoMA in New York, I was in the painting and sculpture department. For a decade after that, I barely picked up a paintbrush. I think because I was so intimidated by having been surrounded by such fabulous art. So it wasn't until, moving to California that I started owning my own voice again. So pretty much, things have been like running simultaneously, where I would, create my own work, but then I would also, being involved with other artists, like really wanting to promote them too, and also to find exhibition opportunities, because, like, as a new emerging artist, and particularly, women in the arts, because we get such a short end of the stick. Exactly. What I started doing is, like, seeing there aren't any shows, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it myself. And so that's pretty much where I started. My very first show that I put together was just in a coffee shop in Petaluma, California. And then from there, it just like grew and grew and grew. I've always been extremely good with, like administration and details and things like that. So when I would see, an opportunity, it's like, so I would always, like, for shows, I might create just like one piece every 6 months, but then the rest of the time would be involved in pulling artists together and creating bigger and better opportunities, that then went from, the coffee shop to now museum shows.
So then what got you to do the first edition of Not Normal Art in the Age of Trump?
So with this one, having moving to Syracuse, which is beautiful in the summer, no doubt, absolutely gorgeous, but it is pretty remote. But luckily, here in Syracuse, there is an art gallery called Art Rage, which is one of the only activist art galleries in the country. I mean, there's just so few spaces that showcase this sort of work. There's only a handful of them. There's like one in Chicago and just like a couple here and there. Art Gallery in San Francisco on Folsom Street, they very often will host, progressive shows. Fabulous gallery. But so they were having an event before this past November that was titled Not Normal Art in the Age of Trump, with performance artists, film, music, and poetry. And so pretty much, when I got there, I connected with the gallery director. And, when I saw this was coming up, I'm like, let me do a show. And unfortunately, at the time they had, it was going to be a performance show only. So what I did is I just quickly pulled together artwork so that it had 38 artists with 55 works. And so what I did for that event was I just put it on a really large monitor where it was just a continuing slideshow. So like people during, breaks and during this evening event, they could look at the artwork and buy the book. But then, after that, I realized, oh my gosh, there's such a wealth and an incredible amount of work out there. And just, it's another story too of like why it's so important to, showcase this work. So now the volume number 2, which here, I'll just like hold this up right here. I now have 142 artists with 350 works. And so that's pretty much how it started, of just like me wanting to get involved. It's like, I'm living in Syracuse, fabulous gallery that focuses on activist art. And so, I just reached out, got involved, and and then participated in that evening, which was really a lot of fun, a lot of great theater and poetry around everything Trump.
Sure. So do you have a root for the feminist aspect of where your work started? Is there, other people that I've had that they had, I had the Tiny Prick, Diana from the Tiny Pricks Project, and she picked up going way in her childhood, and that just ended up getting to being the Tiny Pricks Project. So, and she kind of had some other stuff, like, a lot of activist work. It seems like it's interesting that a majority of the people, I think over half of the people I've interviewed for so far have been women, which I think is, again, for me, is exposing me to a whole other, whole other group of artists. I actually, out here, when I started Artists of the Resistance, thought that this was a fairly unique thing, and had not seen. I've been doing the work for a while, but really hadn't seen a lot of it where I am. And then the virus kicked in, and that threw everything into the shit. So okay. So yeah, getting back to dovetailing onto the feminist thing, we were talking about before the show, your emphasis on feminism work and the difference. I would like to talk about the difference between male-oriented and female-oriented work. some of it's really obvious, but I'd really like to be able to hear from your point of view.
Yeah, so you had asked another question previously, and then I'll answer this one too. So the reason I started moving towards feminist art was, pretty much like when you are in museums and white cube galleries, it's pretty much, it's 87% white male. So that leaves like a really thin slice of the pie. And so, having lived in New York and then moving to the Bay Area of trying to find exhibition opportunities, that's why I really switched my focus to that. And then I also got involved with some women's art organizations, which can talk about later, to showcase their work. But the difference that I see, and what I'm always so incredibly attracted to, is I think the difference that I see is like women's work often, it's like men will talk about, like stories, like say with your work, for example, it tells fabulous stories that I love. A lot of times, like women's work and feminist work also heavily relies on not only the issues but their feelings about the issues. So like when you've heard of like the personal is political, and and that it's like they put so much like heart into it. It's often, it's like it exposes, it's raw for the artists, because they're exposing so much of how they really feel about the topics rather than just showing the topics. And so that's why, like with, I can say with my the collection of art that I have, I only have now, I just bought a cute little piece from a male artist, but it's like, it's basically, I only have 2 male artists in my collection, but I want to add your work. Okay. For sure. Yeah. I really do. Absolutely. And it's all like women's artwork, just because it's like these stories, and you connect with them. And so when I'm working on different subject matters, whether it's women's rights, reproductive rights, immigration, I mean, all across the board, social justice issues, but it delves into so many personal stories, and you can connect with it. Many people, you connect with it on a visceral level, and I think it's that level that really changes the conversations and helps create transformation.
I agree. I think when I've shown, I mean, that's part of what I love, is the conversation that the art generates, because obviously I have a very strong point of view as a view, and it turns some people the wrong way, but that's something I also look forward to. I mean, it's easy for artists to get all bent out of all up in good stuff and praise and all that, but it takes a thick skin that we all have to have, but at the same time exposing a part of us through the art. So
right,
it's a real yin and yang kind of thing.
Yeah, because I know that's why I'm always so big on like asking artists for artist statements. Like, what were you thinking? What were you thinking when you did this? And a lot of times I'll get pushback where people are saying it's not necessary. Just like, what do you get when you look at it? But to me, it's like, it's connecting through those stories that helps then other people who may not be, like art aficionados or whatever, or newbies to art, or just like don't know anything about it at all. It's like you can then connect them, and they can connect their personal stories with what you're trying to say. Yeah, and because I know one thing that always makes me crazy, it's like if an artist will say, oh, I just like painting red because I like the color red. To me that's like, oh, no, nah, I'll take a pass on that one.
Yeah, they need to know why they're doing
right.
what they're doing. They're not doing, I mean, before doing assemblage and sculpture, I did photography. And I had a friend that I did some art fairs in Dallas and the Midwest. And he had this beautiful Dallas skyline that he could shoot, sell the hell out of. And he just blew it up and made it. And it had no personality. He just did it because he knew it was And I did photography, as I do now, of stuff that I wanted, because I was going to be my hardest critic
Hmm.
before anything ever saw the light of day. So yeah, no, I can
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah. Like, have you ever heard of the Big Red and Shiny show?
No.
So it's
Okay.
funny. It's like, if you want to make artwork that sells, make it big, make it
Yeah.
red, and make it shiny. So
Yeah.
sort
No.
of, yeah.
I have a real hard time with painting
Yeah.
times, but particularly I don't like pretty pictures. But so talk some more about the book. What are I recognized a couple artists from the first book.
Hmm.
Um, who are there some interesting people? I mean, obviously there's a lot of interesting people, but can you
Yeah.
pick out a couple of your favorites?
Oh, there's that favorite question, but oh my gosh. In fact, hold on, let me find my list. It's like, because what I'm going to do to help promote the book is I'm creating like a preview video so people can see, what's in it.
Sure.
Um, without like, I think in a couple months, it's like I'm going to make the entire book available online. But like, for right now, I'll just do a preview. And that that's such a hard question, but I'll name some Bay Area artists.
Okay.
Just, you know, one is Michelle Pred, who's just amazing. Holly Ballard Martz. I have such a big list. Actually, Diana from Tiny Pricks. She has, a couple pages in the book.
Yeah,
Um,
I actually finished a piece for her. I hadn't had a serious work with a needle for probably 50 years, since I was
oh
throwing
wow!
on patches and blue jeans, in high school.
Oh my God,
And
I'd
had,
love to
and had a
see that.
and had a perfect, perfect piece when I was talking to her. And then finally I went and got all the stuff and finally got it sent off to her about a week ago.
Oh
So
wow! Yeah. So
that
what?
was
What?
just,
I'm curious. What quote or like what tweet did you choose?
I had this. It was on a small Soviet Union flag, an old
Uh huh.
CCP flag, and it was one of his first tweets about this Russian bounty on soldiers
Hmm.
in the middle, in Afghanistan. And so I thought that was the old Russian flag was perfect metaphor for the tweet that I picked.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I can't wait to see it. Yeah. So other Bay artists is one is Ward Schumacher,
Okay.
and he has been pumping out work. I swear in real time. He does all this acrylic on paper. They're all
Okay.
37 by 25, and just like I swear it's like every single day. You have pumping out like something new that like completely addresses what's the most hideous thing that happened today.
Right.
Um,
It's similar to the Daily Dawn on Instagram.
Yeah, who was the I don't know that one. Hold it, I have to
Oh
write that
yeah,
down and
no, I
check it out.
interviewed
It's like
him
the Daily
about a month
Dawn.
ago. God, his real name is missing, is escaping me, but I'll track it down and give it to you later. But
Okay.
yeah, he's doing the same thing. He gets home from a day job that has absolutely nothing to do
Hmm.
with art, and he's just this kind of self-taught illustrator, and does a painting or illustration every night, and puts it onto Instagram the following day. And his are
Wow.
almost just always right, just dot on. I mean, it was just they're really poignant, and yeah, it's somebody that you should
I know. See, that's what's
volume 2.
right. I know it'll be volume 3 now. It's like
Yeah, that's
like one of
correct.
the processes that I did was doing just that of like just heads down, going down rabbit holes of research, of going to artists that I really liked, and I mean, I just have like, actually, here's like, I have a huge list. I mean, of just artists that I love. And and seeing, it's like, well, what shows have they been in and who did they show with? And then I go to those websites and then to those websites. And then, not only through, websites, but like Instagram and, Facebook has a bunch of different, pages, but mostly, Instagram. And then just checking out artists that I love, like say, such as yourself, that have done such a tremendous series of work, and seeing like, where have you shown, who have you shown with? And then that is really like it, I'm able to cast a wide net of like finding people and looking at people. But
Sure.
but to shout outs for some other, just fabulous artists that are in the book that are, Bay Area, is Priscilla Otani. And who do we have? Gosh, oh, Salma, I'm going to mispronounce her last name, Salma Arestu. And then California artist Eric Almanza. Anyway, there's just, I mean, it's just such, the book, every time I was making this list last night, thinking of who am I going to put in the video, and it's almost every artist in the book. It's like, it's just really funny. It's like, it's so hard to like drill down, which I will, just to drill down to like the essence of, because it's going to be a short video, just like 2 or 3 minutes at the most, of just flashing art to get people interested, to get the word out there. It's not so much about like, of course the book is very important, but it's more like right now, I just feel like the world is in such a crisis, with this president that we have that's unraveling our social fabric. And not only that, it's like our world health, our global health, because of his mismanagement of, the pandemic. It's like, I think that's why, that's a big reason why I do all this, because I feel like everything, is crumbling, and we have to like take our power and to show this as much as possible, to try to switch how people think. It's like artists hold up a mirror that you can hopefully then, others will see themselves in and create positive change. Because, I swear, if I see one more video of people throwing a Karen about, not wearing a mask in public, it's like, you just want to,
Yeah, I know. It would have been interesting, I guess, for the conventions had been the old way to, run out of space in where in South Carolina, where the Republicans were supposed to be, and
Yeah.
have an exhibition of anti-Trump work. I think that would have been really kind
I
of
know.
very, very interesting.
Right. So right now, what I'm trying to do, and I threw out some feelers today, is now, now that the book is finished, I just like this evening got an email from the publisher that it's from Amazon KDP, that it's ready to go, which is awesome. So now it's like, I would absolutely love to have an exhibition, pulling together, these works, and it needs to be in a major city, preferably, New York, DC. Now that I live in Syracuse and I can't just hop on a plane, Bay Area would be a lot more difficult. I'd prefer, so that is definitely something I want to have happen, before, it has to happen before the election. But, usually for shows like this, it's like you're planning for 18 months, not like 6 weeks. But I know I could do it. I have no question. I know I could pull it together. So I'm just gonna throw it out there to the universe. It's like, just give me a space.
A bunch of places that would be really up for this. I would assume.
It's, Clint, you wouldn't believe, it is really hard to find exhibition spaces. Well, usually, now it's like very few places, they're not open, and if they are, it's like, it's maybe, it's just really difficult. And most places, most galleries and nonprofits and art centers, they're booked a good 2 years out. And right now, it's like everybody, like I had a major show that was supposed to open 2 weeks ago at the Museum of Sonoma County up in Santa Rosa, and it's been pushed back a year. And so I always just think of like, never want to say no. These are just considerations that I'm going to have to work through.
Right.
So, but I am just throwing it out there to like the university and like I connected with, and actually it's the foundation that I'm going to be donating the proceeds of the sale of the book to, like for ideas, because they're based in New York. It's like, do they know somewhere that would host this? Because I can handle the rest. I just need the roof, in the space.
Yeah. A box so you can.
Yeah, exactly. But I actually had an idea, and I think I might do this. Is I could have some of the artwork printed out on vinyl, and the fences that are up, I think they're still up around the White House.
Oh
is
yeah.
is put it there. So I have some friends in DC, so I think I'm gonna try that. So I don't know. I mean, because that could be impermanent, it could be ripped down or whatever, but it would definitely be worth a try. So that's
Yeah.
just like just a light bulb that went off, ding.
Yeah. Well, I think the Smithsonian is already collecting stuff from the family,
Right. Yeah.
and putting it together. So I mean, there are people
Yeah.
that are really focusing on documenting this honestly.
And hopefully they won't whitewash it this time.
Yeah.
You heard about that, right? Yeah. So for people who didn't, it's like the
Right, yeah.
Smithsonian, they had a show of signs from the, Women's March the day after the inauguration back in, January 21st, 2017. Was it the, 22nd? Anyway, whatever that Saturday was, I was there in DC, and so anyway, for the exhibition that they had at the Smithsonian, it's like they blurred out Trump, or they blurred out, like actual, like what the people were saying. And I was just absolutely appalled by that. It's like, don't whitewash history. And that's why I think this, this collection of work and pulling together all these artists for them to tell their stories and, and raise their voices is so important. We have to document what is happening, so there's no revisionist history and no alternative facts.
Right.
Yeah,
no, absolutely. I mean, it's just pure. I mean, we could drag it at the administration till tomorrow, but it's just, it took me 6 months to get into doing some new work, and then it was like I had to do it. I mean, there was no question. With the first time they used Conway used alternative facts,
right,
was like the breaking point. And
yeah. What I don't understand is like why people in the media aren't just like, they'll say, oh, it's untruthful information. It's like, when are people just gonna start using, it's like, it's a lie, it's just a lie.
yeah,
Particularly now that I have a big part in helping raise a 3 and a 1-year-old. It's like, no, you call it like it is. It's like, what
right.
sort of examples are we setting for, there are no alternative facts.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely.
It's like, it's either truth or it's a
Years.
lie. I mean, I guess there are shades of gray, and it's like, but, well, I mean, I'm just talking about like communication, in general, but not everything is black and white. But but it's definitely important to document all of this.
Well, and I think that all the Black Lives Matter, and then all what's built and built and built on that, and how he's just, everything's crumbling, that people aren't willing to take stuff whitewashed or stuff sanitized now. And I think that it's hopefully the beginning of will be the beginning of a real renaissance in a lot of different areas.
Right, of people getting involved. And that's one thing I love about the artists in the book, is so many of the works, although it's very it's serious subject matter, it's done in such a way, like with humor, and wit and subversive wit, and that you look at it and it makes you laugh, but then it makes you think.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a really good way to get messages across, is to just to that's a great thing about art, is it's so multi-layered that you see it and you feel it, and then you start processing it. And so works that have like multi dimensions, and I'm a huge fan of text art. So things like where there's art, where there's text involved, where you're really trying to delve down to like, what did they really mean? So, and plus too, I'm hoping this book will be a great coffee table book to piss off your Trump loving relatives.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'll get my copy at least. I mean,
yeah.
Let's go off in the beaten track for a minute, but
okay.
What do you think about Kamala Harris?
I like her. Yeah, I wish, to tell you the truth, I wish she was going to be the one that was debating Trump. I really do.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what I wanted. That's what I would have liked to have Warren on the top of the ticket, because she would have queued him up and spit him out, and he'd walk off the stage after 10 or 15 minutes with her. And I think that's the same way with Kamala Harris. He's already called her nasty because of what she did to Brett. I mean, that's.
Oh yeah, that's like the old typical thing. It's like, just like call women nasty. He called them names. I mean, just like he calls like Sleepy Joe Biden. I mean, what I really want to see is like our leaders like pushing back, and just the next time he like calls someone a name, it's just like, either one, just say that's inappropriate, that's rude, and or just call him a name back or something, but to do something. Like, just don't stand there and take it. I mean, I think that's how he rose up through to get the Republican nomination in, for 2016, was that everyone was left standing around like with their mouth hanging open, like appalled and like shocked, and they never just threw their shoulders back and said, hold it, no, you're not going to call me nasty, or go ahead, call me nasty, but this is what I have to say. And then
right.
So it's just time to like, I think, to really take a stand and like push back.
Yeah, it's funny, my daughter was not a big Kamala Harris fan because of some of the social justice things that she's been out of some of her history, but no, I think she's going to be. I think hopefully she'll, and I don't think he's not going to go for 8. He may make 4, but I think before all is said and done, that she's going to be president.
Yeah. No, and it's like, in the message that I want to get at, like, no one is perfect, and like these people that we put up on a pedestal and say, oh well, what was something that they said 15 years ago in passing? It's like, come on, really? But this is what we have. This is our ticket. This is what we have, and so I'm supporting it 100%. Boom.
Absolutely.
It's like, no look. It's like. And what's wrong with like people changing their mind or like growing? That's what life is about. It's like, you do something and you might have made a mistake and you fall on your face. But what to me is more important is like, how do you pull yourself up and say, hold it, I just learned a lesson. I did something really stupid, or I just like thoughtless, or whatever it is. And then I think it's a much bigger person who can say, whoa, hold it, that wasn't the best. Now looking back, it wasn't the best decision. I would have done things differently, but you can't rewrite history. So it's like, people need to stop being so dogmatic and like writing everything in cement. It's like, no, it's like the only way you grow is by taking chances or risks. And sometimes it doesn't work, but then let's just keep going.
Right. No, and Trump's never taken a risk, or he's never taken responsibility for
Oh
any
no,
that he takes
no.
with, you know, bankruptcies and divorces and all of that. It's always somebody else's fault.
Right. Yeah. Not my fault.
No,
Yeah. Yeah.
but so uh what's banging around inside your head for next?
So I have two exhibitions coming up. One that was set, that was supposed to have been at the Museum of Sonoma County. It's titled "Agency, Feminist Art, and Power," and it's an amazing list of artists. Which actually, because we don't have the signed artist agreements yet, I can't give out all the names, but I can like say. So we have everything from works from Judy Chicago, McLean Thomas, Joan Semmel, to a bunch of great Bay Area artists like Michelle Pred, Priscilla Otani, Sawyer Rose. Really, I mean, it's just an amazing show. So I have everything from like museum collected, like, you know, the mothers of feminist art, down to just, don't want to call them kids. That sounds so awful. Just to young women, like fresh out of college.
Mhm.
And so it's going to be just such a powerful show. And it's really all about agency and like looking at it. Had originally going to be like, you know, with the 100 years celebration of the women's right to vote. But now that it's been pushed, it's all about agency and women in power and, and, you know, all those sorts of issues.
So now, do you think now that you've done the book and do you think there's any changes that you're going to make to that exhibition just because of putting it off?
Well, we've been like working with. I'm also working with the really great woman named Connie Tell, who's was the head of the Feminist Art Project in Rutgers, and
Okay.
she's now in California, and we've been working super closely. So there's a little bit of movement, but pretty much the show was, uh, yeah, it's pretty set. So it's like nothing really is changing now because of like because it's so hard, because it'll be opening on September 11th of next year. um I didn't want to make it too fluid, because who knows what's going to happen in
Right.
between now and then. So we're just sort of going, the show is based on age old issues of, of women in the arts.
Right. And those are going to be as prevalent then as they are now. So,
Right, exactly. So yeah. And then another show that I'm working on right now is called Deadlocked and Loaded, Disarming America. And that's going to open on February 11th here in Syracuse at Art Rage Gallery, and also another space called the Community Art Foundation. And and I'm also looking at some other spaces to make it like a citywide project.
mhm.
And this show was originally, it's been something I've been wanting to do for years and years, was about gun issues. But now this is one that's definitely changing. So I'm going to go back and be revising, like rewriting the prospectus,
Right.
re-choosing, researching new art. It's going to be about our cultural violence, and particularly to our brown and black communities, and of just everything that has come out of Black Lives Matters. Because
Mhm.
while gun issues and is still, it's very important, and that is a part of it, it's sort of shifted from that focus to just our cultural violence, when we're seeing just all the crazy images of like the military, going in like into Portland, and or just here in was it in Buffalo, where the police knocked down the 75-year-old man and cracked
Oh,
his
yeah.
skull. It was just appalling. It's like, how can this be happening in our country? It's mind-blowing. So the whole show, Deadlocked and Loaded, Disarming America, is going to be shifting to thinking about our cultural violence. And with always, it's like, the underline is, I want to create a narrative to bring people together, to like build bridges, to try, to make this stop, to look at, because the artists are really like, the souls of our communities, and they show like the possibilities of like what could be and what's our best hopes, and they express it through their art. And so that is, that's what I want to show.
Yeah, and that's completely changed. I mean, you're right. I mean, it's just, I mean, the NRA being sued by the Attorney General of New York to be
Yeah,
dissolved, and all of that, that it really has made a seismic shift
right.
in in the last year.
Hmm.
It's surprising. I mean, it's well overdue, but I mean, it's surprising considering the influence that those people have in Washington right now.
Right. I know it's still, it's so surprising. I mean, I just hope that they're really able to, take down their debt, and that they lose their, their nonprofit status, just based on bad conduct. It's like, really, they're um buying their, yachts or vacations or whatever. It's like, I just can't see how they could possibly get away with that. Even if it's the NRA, they can, whatever they can do, like lobbying wise. But it's like there's got to be rules that apply to everybody. I mean, it's like rules to, that's the glue of our society is good behavior. I mean, it's like you're not supposed to do things like that.
Right. Yeah.
And maybe I just said I'm so naive. It's like,
I think so too. I mean, that's the way we were raised.
right.
I mean, that's just, I mean, I can pretty much guarantee that Trump's going to be, and his family are going to be in court the rest of his life
Good. Yeah,
until
I
he's
hope so.
dead. I mean, I can't believe that he thinks that, once, if he leaves it, no one's going to pay any attention to what he's done. I mean, he's
Yeah.
postponed the inevitable.
Yeah. He should, just such the classic narcissist that I
Absolutely.
really don't think he thinks beyond whatever spills out of his mouth at the moment, which is pretty scary.
It is, yeah. I mean, I'm continuing to be amazed
Yeah.
that, I've hit bottom with him too many times already, and I know it's going to get worse in the
Hmm.
in the next 90 days, less than 90 days. It's just going
Right.
to be horrible. But
Yeah. So we'll have to, like I say, it's like with this, it's like all the artists are, raising their paintbrushes in protest. And um yeah, it's just so hard, it's just a little difficult right now, like with the pandemic. It's like, because you want to get out there, and like people, like whether it's like, for rallies or knocking on doors. But it's like, I guess we're all just going to really have to focus and think like, well, what can I do from, sort of like the safety of your own home to like really make a difference. So yeah.
yeah, I keep thinking, yeah, I should go volunteer at the Alameda County Food Bank, or
Hmm.
or or do something. But
Right.
I spent my entire adult life working in community mental health. So at times I give myself some slack for those of
Right.
I spent my whole entire adult life working with with very interesting people that most people disregard, or aren't, have never been exposed to.
Yeah. Well, there's something, a way for people to get involved. And now I wish I could remember the exact name, but it's like, I'm sure like my contact information will be in when this is recorded, because
Yeah, it's
it's where
recorded, and
people could
we have a YouTube channel
oh, okay. We're like,
that all the interviews are being saved and then uploaded there.
okay, yeah, because what I was going to say, it's like there's a project right now going on called the Postcard Project, and what you do is you handwrite postcards, like you're supposed to do like 5 a day, and then send them out, and it's to either red or swing states to help get people motivated and engaged. And and I don't know if like if someone just Googled like the Postcard Project, if that would pull it up. But that's what I was saying. It's like anyone could like reach out to me, and then I will actually have the information, because I know now that I have this done. I've started the process because I just learned about it, and I'm going to commit to doing that like every day. Because one, I'm an old fashioned, like I handwrite letters to friends and people every day. And so I know this would be something I would enjoy, but it was like, hopefully, other people would do it too. Cause just think about it, like we could really make a difference if like a lot of people did that, and people in these, purple states or red states are, getting these postcards like to get out and vote. So yeah,
Yeah.
Postcard Project.
Yeah, no, I think that's going to be paramount. Paramount.
Yeah. Yeah, because I just worry, and like, what do you think about like like has your mail been like slowed down? It's like, what's going to happen like with, because I've done absentee ballots for 20 years or whatever. I haven't been to a polling place in like so long I can't even remember. Like what's really going to happen there? It's like, that terrifies me. It's like, are people not going to be able to have their ballots counted,
Right.
or like
Yeah.
it's all going to just go to hell in a handbasket?
Yeah,
Because
no,
of like this new person, Trump appointee in charge of the post office. It's like, that to me.
I mean, yeah, I think it was last Friday late was when he fired a whole bunch of the executives from the
Mhm.
postal service, or shifted people around, and
Mhm.
that, no, they're trying their hardest to make it as hard as humanly possible. And all their surrogates in all the red states are, oh, we can't have as many polling places because of the virus, or we can't,
Right.
and all this stuff, or so it's just,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just,
It's an issue too with like volunteers, because they're typically like retired people, and, and they're the highest risk.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
So, oh, we got to
It's
talk
funny
about
in the
something
past.
happy.
It was funny in the past working for the county is that we got a day off paid to go help out at the polls. And so I
Mhm.
did that. I did that a couple times. I mean, it was really easy. It was easy, and it was fun because it was just interacting with a whole lot of people. And some, I was placed, I forget where I was even placed. It was not somewhere close to me. And so
Mhm.
it was really interesting. It was really fun. And yeah, it is. It's like, God, I should go be a poll, I mean, it's
Yeah.
wear my mask, and they'll do the, social distancing and all that. And but there's also a side of me that says, I don't know. I mean, I mean, we're getting, I hate to say I'm getting up there in my age, but it's getting, I mean, but I go out every day to the flea markets.
Yeah.
So priorities, I guess. So I need to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what we need to do is just think about, just like do a little bit every day of like what you can do, and then and and do that, and just know it's like it's incremental. I mean, that sort of like ties back to like, how did I get to where, what I'm doing today? And it was just like, starting small, but like always setting the bar high, because if you set it here, you come in here. If you set it here,
Yeah.
of just like chipping away at it every day, and like, yeah, and just sort of working relentlessly on like trying to pull stuff together and make things happen. And that's all,
Yeah, no,
all you can do. Because sometimes I too think it's like, well, what am I doing? All I've been doing the last couple months, and it's really been um since COVID hit and we got shut down. It's like where I became so angry at the lack of leadership from above, from in this country. And it's like, and it's affecting so all of our lives. It's affecting the planet. So that's where um when I really started wanting to like pull this work together. But then too, I'm thinking, I'm giving myself a hard time. It's like, well, what else am I doing besides doing this book? This book. It's like, I need to do more. Which I will. It's
yeah.
like, it's just, I think sort of like when you're an activist, you always feel like, I just feel like I'm never doing enough.
Yeah.
But
No, I mean, that's what was so exciting about being involved in your book, because I had shows set up in the spring. I had all this new body of
mhm,
work about Trump. And then this all hit, and I thought no one was ever going to see it.
Mhm.
And by the time it was out in the public again, it'd be almost passe.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm hoping, I know it's like, now that the book is actually available where I can start, sending it out, of everything from like, I want to get it on the Stephen Colbert show, to get it to
Sure.
Rachel
Oh, yeah.
Maddow, to get it to like, just even people like just following on Twitter, like who's, actors and actresses that are really vocal, and getting it to them to just, because there's just so much fabulous work. And I was just thinking of, I don't know if this will like show up very well here. Let me just like hold this up here, see if people can see that.
Oh, yeah.
There's just so many and incredible. Oh, hold it. Look right next to it. Yours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just all these, powerful works, because it's really, they throw a punch. And so
No,
hopefully it'll make people stop
that
and think.
the talking head shows would just completely eat this up.
Yeah.
Because there's a void of intelligent anti-Trump sentiment.
Right.
That's why I used all his own words to throw it back to him, because doing anything else, it can be dismissed. A lot of the
Right.
caricatures and all that, I just, they got old after, a couple months, just because they were the same old, it was the same thing.
Yeah.
Looking for in your book serious work that's challenging in this moment.
Yeah. And I sort of want to send this out, like not only to you, but like to any of the, the viewers and who's listening right now, is, as I do need help, one in marketing this and getting it out there, and also like advice on like how to get to these, the talking heads, like say like Rachel Maddow. I think I do know a way to like get it in front of Stephen Colbert, but just like, for example, have you watched videos of Randy Rainbow?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. I love, love him. And literally, like, I have been emailing with his publicist since like November, and cannot get anywhere. And that's what's so frustrating, because it's like, and that's what I need help with. It's like, if anyone out there knows like what's a good channel to like to get, because I'm not just going to mail the book to like a film studio. It's like some intern is just going to throw it in their trash. That I know that's what happens. It's like,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
but of like, what's a good way to get in there? And it's like, and I am, my husband is awesome, and he just told me, it's like he's giving me a grant, for, and so I can hire a publicist for this. And it's like, it's not a lot. I have a small budget. It's going to be maybe like $3,000, that I'll put towards a publicist, and the rest of the money is going to be like to try to really do something with this. And I hope this isn't like TMI, too much information, but it's like, but I just, yeah. So it's like, I guess I'm just wanting to say, it's like, I know I'm a really good curator, and pulling art together and creating those connections and building community. But when it comes to publicity, I have no idea. So gonna throw it out there. People contact me. I need help.
I mean, that's why we're talking tonight, because Katie said, because I hate the social media stuff, or keeping track of files and stuff like that. And we all have our strengths, and and the few of us that are smart enough to know our weaknesses, get somebody that's their strength. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because I do have to throw it out there. All pretty much all my curatorial projects I've done as a volunteer. I do this as a volunteer. I don't get paid. Occasionally, like when you do something, like for universities, they'll give you a small stipend for programming, but for all of this, but it's like, it's a labor of love. And I have to say, I'm so privileged to be in a place where, I can dedicate my time to this.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Outside of my, what was my full-time day job. So.
Yeah. 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 A 1 and 3-year-old on one side and
Right. Yeah.
publisher
Right.
publicist on the other.
Yeah. Yeah. No, when I lived in California, I worked for a high tech company. I was an executive assistant to a CEO.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's where all my organizational skills come in. It's like, so people would always ask, well, why didn't you work like for, you know, a arts center or something like that? But well, probably because you made 5 times as much money. And that enabled me to be able to do all the projects and all the travel and, supported my activist art activity.
Right.
So,
No, yeah. No, I feel lucky the same to have the means to focus on work that's important to me.
yeah.
And if other people like it, that's great.
Hmm.
But, it's really not, it isn't really important when it comes to push to shove. Well, our time, I know we got started a little late. Um,
Hey, Clint,
yes, Julian.
the voice. I just wanted to read a couple things to you from the chat window real quick from Twitch.
Okay.
Art Chicky wanted to say, Karen, for you to check with the artists themselves. They may have connections for you.
Thank you.
Okay. Also, that was mentioned was, I think for Karen, what's your process for coming up with ideas for a show and putting it together?
Pardon?
Sure. What is your process for coming up with an idea for a show and putting it together?
Oh, okay. God, that's a great question. So very often, just so here, I'll give an example. I had an exhibition at St. Mary's College in Moraga, and it was called Social Justice. It happens to one, it happens to all. And so what happened is like I heard about a story where this woman in Connecticut, African American woman, put her son like registered under a friend's address and to get him into a good kindergarten, and she was arrested and thrown in jail for 10 years. So when I read that story, it just like created this and just like fury. I was like, I just couldn't believe that happened. And so that's where it's like a lot of times I came up with the title. It's like it happens to one, it happens to all. And so what I'll do, it's things like this that hit me really personally, is I will start researching it and coming up with topics that I think will like resonate with the public, but more so that's also like important to me that I feel needs to be out there and expressed. And so then I start writing the prospectus, which sometimes can take like a month or so to really hone in and drill down on like what exactly am I trying to say, what am I trying to portray. And then I start the looking for artists. And so with that process, it's like, I'll have like a checklist of say 10 artists that I really want. And depending on like who's available, who's not, then you start spreading out. So if you get this work, you knock out those two. And so then it's just like a whole process of playing, oh, I don't know, just like moving pieces around. And then usually with that, then it's like finding the location and pitching it to different venues who accept independent curatorial proposals, which are very few. There's not many. So you have to work really hard at like finding and creating those relationships of in order to get the work out there. But so I think that was a long-winded, I'm not way of describing it all, but like just finding issues that I feel are that I know are really important and that really resonate with me, and then finding the artists that are expressing that subject matter and that theme, and then just pulling it all together.
Yep. In a nutshell, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Karen, it has been a pleasure, long waited for, to
Yeah.
be able to have a chance to shoot the shit with you. And
I know,
hope
this is
to do it.
great.
I have a return visit from Dinah from Tiny Pricks that we've already set a time. She's coming back on, I think, sometime in the middle of December that we're either going to
Mhm.
commiserate together or celebrate. And
Yeah.
so maybe we can do something like that after the
Right.
new year.
No, that would be great. Oh, and I will be back. We'll be back in California in early summer, I think.
Oh, good.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll be coming back, and we have a ranch outside of Yosemite.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
You know, Yosemite.
Well, I have to admit, before I came here years and years ago, is I sounded it phonetically, and so and that was it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So yeah, we're developing the ranch right now, and we're gonna be raising grass-fed beef, and that's my husband's doing that. I'm going to be hopefully having like artist residencies out there. So it's a beautiful property. It's 30 miles from the nearest stoplight. It's very,
oh,
very remote. But yeah, so yeah, I'm looking forward to being back in California.
cool. Well, Julian, I think this is a wrap. If it's a wrap with you.
Cool. I'm gonna send all of our viewers to our good friend DJ Wicket. He's a fun DJ, so that way they can have a little music to listen to. So I'm just gonna go and hit that. And thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, let's see. They should be on their way. And